Hello, today I am doing the lowest rated books I have read according to Goodreads. I got this video idea from Andrew from the channel You Could Be Reading More, where you basically look at Goodreads, or if you use another app like Storygraph or Fable or anything like that, you can go there and any app that tracks what you've read and the rating, and it has an average rating. Even if you haven't given it a rating, there is an average rating from the community who uses that site, and you just go through it and look at what the lowest rated books are. So I decided to do that, but I'm also going to be doing the highest rated books I've read, and then also the lowest and highest on my TBR, but each of those will be a separate video. So I thought this would be a fun little thing to do. So I'm only including books that have an average rating of 3.50 or less, and I'll also be talking about if I feel that the book deserves that rating, or if I feel like it should be higher or lower. Of course, I'm just one person. I don't get to decide what its ultimate rating is. This is just its average rating. But I also, as you will hear about in this video, I will still have my own opinion of a book, and I don't mind if it's popular or not. I just thought this would be interesting to look at and discuss. And I also have the understanding that I may like a book, but I understand that it's not for everyone. Some books are more universally loved than others, as we will learn here. I will go from the lowest to highest rated. If I own the book, I'll put it up on the shelf. So there are only a few books to go over here. In all these videos, I'm not including a book if it is like a rather obscure book. It only has like 3 ratings. That's different than when something has thousands or millions of ratings, you know? So the lowest is, ironically, my current favorite book, This Song Is Not For You by Laura Nowlin. I remember seeing the low rating this book had on Goodreads before I read it, like when I picked up this book from the thrift store knowing nothing about it and put it on my TBR, but I didn't want to look at any of the reviews. I wanted to go into it not knowing much. I was a little nervous because it sounded interesting to me and I was hoping I would like it. A few months went by before I actually read it, and I ended up loving it. So that's completely an example of how you might be hesitant to read a book because it might have a low average rating. This has a really low average rating for some reason that I still can't quite comprehend, but you might end up loving it. You are one person. The average rating is made up of a bunch of people who aren't even you, so I definitely encourage you to read it for yourself. If you're interested, that's okay. It doesn't gotta be popular. Maybe you will feel that you'll have a higher chance of enjoying it if it has a higher average rating, and maybe that's so, but not always. So hopefully that can be a good example to you. Anyway, this book currently has an average rating of 2.47 stars, and that is from over 7,000 ratings. That is pretty low. Now, do I think it deserves that rating? Certainly not. I don't know why a lot of people don't like this book. I don't think it's the greatest piece of literature out there and everybody should read it. It's certainly for some people. For one, it's young adult. And that could be the issue with a lot of people. I think if you're like a middle-aged adult and you read young adult, and a lot of people, I'll see this, they'll complain and be like, oh, it just felt so juvenile and childish. It's like, yeah, they're teenagers. It makes sense. It's supposed to be like that. Now, if it's too much for you, especially if you're an adult, that's fine. But if it sounds like who it's written for and the age the characters are supposed to be, then that makes sense. So I don't quite get that complaint, unless maybe you feel it's just too childish, which could be the case, but I didn't feel that way about this book. As you know, I personally loved it. I don't know what the issue is. I get that it's not for everyone, but I don't see what's so bad about it. Now, I do have an older edition of the book, maybe the newer edition, something's wrong with it. Maybe there are a bunch of errors in it, I don't know. I also know that this author has other books that are more popular, so maybe people read those first and were expecting a certain something from this one and just it didn't meet their expectations. I have not read her other books yet, but I want to. So maybe once I read those, I will understand. I mean, maybe this wouldn't be so odd to me if I had seen a bunch of other books with ratings that are close to this, but I really haven't. Not that I've read, anyway. A rating like that would make it seem like it is highly controversial, but I don't really think that it is. I don't know. I liked it. The second book is a little different. It is the Animal Crossing New Horizons Deserted Island Diary Volume 1 by Kokonasu Rumba. This is the first in a cute little manga series based on Animal Crossing New Horizons, and this first volume has an average rating of 3.43 out of over 2,000 ratings. Now that's not terribly low, but it's not super high either. I guess I can understand this. I mean, I personally liked the series for the most part, thought it was pretty nice. It's not meant to be very deep. I think I understand it though, because I think people assumed it would be a certain way and perhaps did not meet their expectations because different people can interpret Animal Crossing, but people of all ages play that game, and maybe they just expected a manga series to be a certain way and it wasn't. But I think a lot of Animal Crossing is about being creative and using your imagination, especially in the game New Horizons, so that's probably the issue. People just were expecting one thing and got another. But I personally liked this book. I think I gave it 5 or 4 stars. I gave most of the volumes 5 or 4 stars. I don't know if I gave any of them lower than 4. The third and final book for this list, and the lists in the next videos in this sort of series thing will be longer, is That Summer by Sarah Dessen. This book has an average rating of 3.46 out of over 50,000 ratings. So this one has a lot more ratings. I don't think any of her other books were rated this low. I've read 3 of her books, this one included. I want to read most of them. This was her first book, and sometimes your first book isn't as good as later on, but sometimes it is. In this case, though, I definitely am like, yeah, this is her first book. It's not the best. I gave it 3 stars when I read it, so I guess my rating kind of goes with the average rating. There were some good things about it. It wasn't absolutely amazing. I've read better from her. I think she's improved since then. But this rating, I definitely think makes sense. Like, with This Song Is Not For You, I think it should be a little higher. Should it be like 4.50? Maybe not. But I think it should be higher than 2.47. The Animal Crossing one, I'm okay with where that rating's at. That's kind of different as it's just manga, which is absolutely still a book, but it's different when you're comparing it to a novel. That Summer and This Song Are Not For You are both young adult novels. Yeah, I mean, I feel that That Summer was okay. In fact, the author of This Song Is Not For You, Lauren Allen, even said on Goodreads that she thinks of, I think she also gave That Summer 3 stars and called it a decent dessin. I didn't think That Summer was bad, but if somebody disliked it and gave it 2 stars or lower, I would understand. Certainly not her best work, so this, I think, is the most reasonable rating of all 3 of these. It's okay. Not amazing. My opinion, not terrible, but some people could think so. I think it was a decent start, and I do think it's good, but yeah, didn't love it. Anyway, those are the 3 books I wanted to talk about here. Like I said, the future videos like these will be longer. I just wanted to go any books that were 3.50 or under. Not many. I don't know if some people would consider that a bad rating. As you know, I don't really care, but like, I am curious how you may see it. Like, do you think that a decent average rating would be 4 or higher? And if it's lower than that, does that make you kind of skeptical of the book? Maybe it even sways your decision on whether or not you're going to end up reading it or buying it. I don't think it's ever done that for me, but it can make me more excited to read a book, as we'll get to when we talk about the highest rated books on my TBR. So feel free to share any thoughts that you may have, and thank you for watching.